All right, it's time to put this big wing on the Kitfox. It's been about almost 2 years. We're about a year and 3/4 that I've been flying the standard wing. I've been really happy with the standard wing. So far, the results, I've got really good numbers. I'm real comfortable flying it. So now is a good time to switch to the other wing and see how it's going to perform now that I have a real good understanding of how this one works. A couple things I want to achieve by doing this is a slower stall speed and an overall better performing wing at altitude or at a higher weight. So when we're up closer to our gross weight, I want to see, better performance. And the one drawback I found to the standard wing is that when you're flying at higher altitude, it kind of feels like you're at the nose up in a climb all the time. And so I've heard that the STI wing kind of gets rid of that. And so I'm kind of hoping that our prototype wing does the same thing, allows you to get the nose a little bit flatter and have just a better performing wing at higher altitude and higher weight. The slats will be a whole nother thing to test. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the wing on, we're gonna take the slats off, we're gonna fly the wing for a little bit without any slats. Get real comfortable with it, make sure there's no negative characteristics to the wing. We flew it before on the Vixen, so I don't really expect any negative aspects, but we wanna make sure the rigging's all right, we don't have any turning tendencies. That way when we put the slats on, if we gain any turning tendencies or anything, it feels a little differently. We know it's not the wing itself, it would be the slats. Then I'm gonna add one slat at a time. So I'm gonna add the outboard section first, and then the inboard section, and then finally the third section. So we'll kind of baby step into it and then play around with whether those slats are gonna be beneficial to us or not on a flapper-on plane. It's not as simple as just taking this wing off and slapping that wing on. There's a lot of stuff I need to do. I've got no lights and no magnetometer on these wings. So I can't fly it at night. There won't be any lights on it. Until I know that I like the wing, I'm not going to take the time to install that stuff. Then the fairing that I made from the windshield to the wing is not going to work on the bigger wing because the wing sticks out further. The other thing that's not going to work is the turtle deck, because where I have the flapper-on hinges or flapper-on control linkage coming through the turtle deck is going to be in a different location. And on the turtle deck I have that hinges, it moves that hole into the hinged part, which means I'd have to cut a slot in it, and I don't want to ruin that turtle deck just to try this. So instead I'm going to build a whole nother turtle deck out of carbon fiber. So I'm waiting on materials on that. That'll be a side project that will be in this video also, and we'll be doing that back in the Project Kitfox shop. So there's quite a few components. The next aspect of it is the rigging. You need different control arms to go up to the flapper-ons because they're in a different location. They need to be longer. So we got different control arms to put in. That means the interior has to come out. So this could be a long project. I've got about a week to work on it right now, and I hope to be flying it by the end of the week. So that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna get to work on it. I've got the time-lapse camera running. The first thing I need to do is fold the wings and disconnect the fuel line and the electrical. And then I got some friends coming out, and we're gonna remove one wing and try to put one wing on and see how it fits, because it's already pre-drilled for a different fuselage. So I'm really hoping that everything lines up and fits okay. Where the butt rib is could be a problem, and that can't be moved because it's fastened to the windshield. So there's a lot of parameters there, really tight tolerances. If there's a gap, that's fine. If it's too tight, I'm not sure what we're gonna do about that. So we really need to fit one to see how it's gonna go. If that works, then I'll take the other one off and fit the other one. But there's no sense taking them both off and then finding out that they don't fit. So we're gonna fit one first. So that's the plan for today, is remove the right wing and put the big right wing on and see if it fits. If it fits, we'll try to get the other one on as well. All right, guys, so the wings are on, they fit, which was amazing. I was real worried about the spacing between the end of the wing and the windshield or the butt rib. Give me about 1/8 of an inch gap, which is perfect because we're gonna make a fairing. I'm gonna make a fairing, I don't know who we is, for the wing to windshield like I did last time out of carbon, but I'm gonna bring it all the way up along to the back of the wing. So that's something that will need to be made. I also need to make the turtle deck. I just got a notification that the carbon fiber supplies I've been waiting for did show up at the house while I was down here. So I'm gonna head back to the house and start working on that part of it, get the turtle deck done so it can dry up, and then I can bring it down and cut it to fit the airplane. There's some other things that need to be done. In order to pivot these wings, I gotta round the corner of the back of the windshield a little bit. Right now when they go to pivot, it digs in, and I can't move the wing, and if I can't move the wing, I can't hook up the fuel and the pitot system. So I need to do that. I'll probably do that real quick before I leave, make sure the wings can pivot okay. Then I have to take the seats out so that I can get to the control linkage, and we're gonna change the control arm length so that they'll actually come out in a different position because the flaperons are now further back. So I gotta make those longer. So that's gotta happen. So a lot to do. And once I get the turtle deck on and I can mark where the flaperon hole is gonna go through, then I can put the flaperons on. Until I do that, I'm not gonna put those on. So it went pretty good. I'm happy that they're on. Had some help from my buddy Tim and my family, my wife and kids. They all came down to help, and it actually went pretty good. All right, so I'm getting ready to do this carbon fiber turtle deck. This is my mold. It's pretty simple shape on the turtle deck. And then I'm gonna do some work to make it so that it hinges open and closed. But I'll do all that after the fact. I'm doing some additional layup and support on the inside. One of the things I don't like about the factory Lexan one is that it vibrates real bad. Even with the support across, the aluminum support across it for the hinge, it still vibrates quite a bit, especially in a slip. So what I'd like to do on this one is determine where the fold line is going to be, and then I'm going to put in some carbon fiber bracing supports, either crisscross or however I'm going to do it, and I'll show you that later. It'll be after I fit it to the airplane, bring it home, then I'm going to lay up the inside supports to try to limit that vibration. I'd like to get rid of it completely. So I've got the carbon fiber already cut. We got a couple layers of wax on. I'm waiting for that to dry. And then I'll go ahead and throw on some mold release. Yeah, I hope to do the layup tonight. That way it gives it time to dry overnight. I can take this down, pull it out, cut the shape, and then take it down to the airplane and see if I can get it to fit tomorrow. So here we go. The layup is done. It took about an hour and a half. It's 4 layers. You got a twill weave, a directional running this way, then a directional running that way, and then a twill weave on top. So I hope to get a real, I'm kind of curious about the directional stuff to see if it stiffens it up very much. Then I've done a peel ply on top. That helps suck some of the resin out. Just talking about materials, that was 5 yards. I've got that much left over in the twill and that much left over in the directional. All the materials here, we're talking somewhere around $400, $450 to do this turtle deck by the time I'm done. Get this drying overnight. We're gonna pull it tomorrow and then cut it to fit, take it down and see if it fits on the airplane. Okay, so next I'm gonna cut the edge of the layup out of the mold on both sides. See what that looks like. And down the edge there. I'll have to cut the excess off the top to get it out. But it's very rigid. I'm actually surprised how rigid it is already. So I may not need to do a whole lot of reinforcing using that those directional layers. And here's the difference in the directional layers. You got your weave here, and your directional layer is just strands running one way, and then they're kind of stitched together, but not very well. You can see it just pull out, but all the strands are running one way, versus the twill, which weaves it one way and with a crisscross every 2. Alright guys, so about 4 hours of work, and there we have the carbon fiber turtle deck. What I'm going to do real quick is weigh it and see if it saved any weight at all over the Lexan one. Alright, so you're going to read off here what it says. So I've got my assistant here to help me out. So I'm just going to balance it, and you're going to read about what it says here.
It says about 8.59 pounds.
8.59 pounds for the factory turtle deck. New carbon fiber one.
About 4.29 pounds.
So how much less?
About
Over
4 pounds.
Over 4 pounds. What was the first one? 4.6?
8.
4.3 pounds lighter. I just shaved another 4 pounds off. What's up?
Nice.
Alright, something that doesn't usually happen is it fits almost perfectly right out of the get-go here with the trimming I did. The trims are all, lines are all good. I got the loose fasteners in all but one. I need to get a really long drill bit to drill from the back side to get those ones, but there's one more on each side that goes right here. I do need to spacer out the top because the carbon fiber is much thinner than the Lexan, so there's play in there. So I need to do a shim on the back side along there that will stiffen that up. And then it's real stiff down here. I think once I shim that, I won't get a whole lot of play in it, but I'll probably put some supports across right here just to stiffen that up. But overall, I mean, it came out looking pretty cool. Come around so the sun's not glaring into the camera. There was a little teeny dent in the aluminum, and I knew it was going to show up, and it did. So there's just a little blemish right there. But I think I'm going to do a window right there. So it depends on where the seam line is for the hinge, and that kind of depends on where the flaperon comes into the turtle deck. So we'll kind of leave that and see if we can't get rid of that blemish by doing a window. I don't know if I showed this originally when I was building the plane, but if you get 2 of these flaperon hinges, you got to get them, of course, but you put a dowel through or a broom handle through. It then marks exactly where the flaperon shaft is going to come through the turtle deck. So I can mark that hole, go ahead and cut my hole for access, and then I have to decide how I want to slot it to get the turtle deck on and off. Turtle deck's on and done. I've got the cutouts done for the flaperon. Flaperons are mounted and on, and they've been rigged. So the rigging took an entire day. There's quite a few changes that had to be made to basically from the stick back to the mixer, and then getting the flaperons so that they were even and had the right amount of throw up and down and the right amount of drop for the flaps on each setting. It took about, I don't know, 4 or 5 different re-rigs to try to get it right until I figured out what the issue was, and now they're on there, they're good to go. So now you can see all this blue tape on here. What I'm working on now is these fairings between the wing and the windshield. So that's the goal today, is to get that done. So I got to shape that expanding foam that's in there to get the shape I want, and then I'll lay up some carbon fiber and I'll have those fairings done. All right, so I got the carbon cut and laid out. Got my mold done and then covered with a combination of vinyl and then packing tape to try to get the mold or the carbon fiber to release. It's taped off. I'm gonna do this left side first. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the carbon up over this edge, so it's gonna be about that far in, and then it will cover this gap and then come in about that far all the way back, and then it'll come into this front piece and wrap under. Okay, so these aren't quite dry. I'm gonna let them dry for a little bit longer. I do need to go home and make the logbook entry. So anytime we make a major alteration like this, a major change, put new wings on is pretty major. So we're gonna have to go back into phase 1 for at least 5 hours and go out and retest all the flight parameters like we did originally. Along with that, that'll go in the airframe logbook. Along with that, I also need to reweigh the plane. I could just add the weight of the wings, which was about 20 pounds per side, for a total of 40 pounds, and that would put me right around 866. But there's been so many small changes to the plane with the covered gear legs, some baggage change. We put a little bit more avionics on, just small stuff that we've added to the plane. So I'm gonna go ahead and reweigh it and get a new weight. I've got a little bit of fuel left in the header tank, but right now the wing tanks are empty, so it's a good time to weigh it. I did get the magnetometer installed. I didn't film that because it was really just screwing that box and then running the wires. I don't have the plug that I thought I had. You can see the wires hanging out over here to plug it into the connector that's at the wing root. It's a Dausch 3-pin, and I've got 2 pins of 4-pin connectors and no 3-pins. So I ordered that. It won't be here till Wednesday. Anyway, that's the update for today. I'm gonna let this cure, probably clean up the hangar a little bit here, get some of these supplies put away, and then come back either late tonight and pull those and cut and fit them, or do it tomorrow. All right, so here's the raw piece before I cut and trim it. Then I have to sand it and mount it. Very lightweight, doesn't weigh hardly anything. So I got all the molds off the wing. I was all worried about that super fill coming off. It was a bit of a pain, but it came off. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these up. I'm gonna take them outside to do it, put on a mask and cut those, and then we'll put them back on. And then basically what I'm gonna do to mount them is the rib cap here. I'll probably put some screws down in the rib cap. That's pretty much it. That'll hold it in place. After I paint them, I'll probably put some weather stripping around the edge on both, where it contacts. Now we'll lift everything up equally, but it should fit just fine when I do that. So, all right, guys. So this is roughly what they look like. All done. Well, cut, not done. Overall, they'll do. I mean, they'll clean up really nice once I sand them. Alright, so I got a little buzz going on. I'm not sure what the cause of the noise is, or if it has something to do with the turtle deck. You know, I don't know. I'll have to kind of troubleshoot that. But anyway, warming up to go out on the very first flight with the big wings on this plane. What we'll probably do here, we just finished the weight and balance. What I'll probably just do is fly down the runway a couple times, check the controllability, pitch, and left and right, and probably do that until I'm comfortable. I don't know if I'll get a pattern in. If it feels real good, I don't have any issues with it, then I'll go around the pattern. Yeah, it feels a lot better. Alright, so I got the pitch figured out. So this one I'm going to come up level. I'll probably go a little bit more down trib, keep the power in for just a bit, and work my left and right, see if I have any turning tendencies, if I can tell that, you know, from takeoff power close to the ground. But I'm going to see how it feels left and right, controllability, and then if that feels good, we'll probably do a pattern. No. Alright, here we go. full flaps. Yeah, I tried full flaps, full trim on that, or up trim. Definitely gonna need more trim than it does with the standard wing. Let's try it out. There we go. Alright, climbing out about 75,000 feet a minute. Alright, so I'm gonna pull it back to about 8,200. That's where I kind of settled on my cruise settings. I don't know if I understand why it's flying faster than the other wing. I'm still climbing when we get level. And if we didn't lose any airspeed with this wing, that's amazing. 107 right now on the turn. How's it faster? That's crazy. 106. Well, I did not expect it to fly faster. Well, if I could run around at 7,800 RPM at 100 miles an hour, that is frickin' cool. This might be the setup right here. Check the turtle deck. Not really flexing much, that's good. Got the cowl pieces are holding steady, they look good. Got a little bit of a turn to the left, so if I hold it steady here, just slight. Not that bad even, just slightly running left wing low. Alright, full flaps. Still controllable. A lot of up trim though. A little bit of buffeting on the tail. Does 3-point. Alright, good morning. It's still sunny out, and we're gonna get our second round of flights in. I'm gonna put some fuel in it. Like I mentioned before, you guys, before I went and did all the flying yesterday, I made a logbook entry. We're back into phase 1. We're operating under our test area. That includes Benton, Redding, and Red Bluff, and the area in between. So I can go fly anywhere in that area and do about 5 hours. It'll probably be a little bit more than that because I want to get a fair amount of time on it just with the wing, with no slats, and then we want to do the slats. So we'll see how the combination works out for the time. But we are back in phase 1 to accomplish that. I did notice I need more tail authority with this wing. So right now I don't have any VGs on the tail and I don't have a gap seal. So after flying today, I may make those changes. So that is something that we may change on there. So cameras are on. I've got tons of angles today, so hopefully I'll have better footage from the flying today. So let's get the fuel on, we'll get going. I'm gonna be warming up for a little bit. I still don't have the plug I need for the magnetometer, so I'll cover that once I get the plug. But I have to say that the guys at GRT are awesome. I've always been such a big supporter of Project Kitfox, and I love their avionics, and I'm not plugging them because they help me out. I'm plugging it because this thing's great. I mean, everything I've ever wanted in a glass panel is in this GRT 10.1 Horizon. And I called them up, said, hey, I'm putting this other wing on. I'd really like to get another magnetometer. They sent me another one. It's mounted, it's wired right to behind my shoulder. I just don't have the plug to plug it into this plug right here. So we've got 2 hours plus of fuel. The plan is on this flight is to, again, get a little more comfortable with the wing without the slats on it. I'm going to go up and do different cruise settings and record the airspeed, and then I'm going to do some stalls and then record the airspeed on that. Okay, so we got one notch trim set. We got fuel. We're at temp. Warning lights, so let's get this thing going. That was short. Turn the heater on. It's 38 out today, so nice and cold. I pull my power back to about where I have my low cruise, and I'm climbing out at 1,000 feet a minute at 70 miles per hour. That's what the engine pulled back. Okay, to fly at level, it is more nose down, which gives you better visibility. I think that's why it flies faster, is because you're unloading, getting that angle of attack down, because you're getting more lift out of this wing. So, it's going to take some getting used to, because I feel like I'm descending, and I'm actually still got a slight climb going, but I've got the nose down, the wing's very level. So at 8250, that's direct drive 2150 RPM, going 106. It's significantly faster. 109. Better 9,000 real quick. 115. That's 130 right there at 10,000 RPM. So again, the biggest difference I'm seeing is the attitude of the plane. In cruise flight is more nose down. And I think that's why I'm getting the better speed. You're getting overall more lift without having to pitch the wing up to get the angle of attack that you would on the standard wing. So by creating more lift, you can actually lower the angle of attack to a flatter deck angle. You're kind of unloading that tail, and it's allowing you to go faster. I think I'll climb up to about 5,000 feet, and then we'll start figuring out these numbers on for the stalls. Alright, there's 5,000 feet. Go ahead and pull the power back. So we need to know where it stalls so we know what our approach speed is going to be, how comfortable we're going to be getting down slower than we were with the standard wing. Alright, getting buffeted at 44. Alright, about 44, it wants to stall, but it's not really stalling. Let's come back up to 5,000. Alright, we'll go first notch of flaps. See what this does for us. 43. 41. 40. 40. Okay. Pretty similar to the other wing. I think 40 was with full flaps. So let's go right into it with full flaps here. See what it's going to do with full flaps. I was just cruising along at 46 here. Alright, so this is our approach speed. 39. Full aft, it won't stall. So I'm all the way back pressure. I'm gonna add a little power to force it to stall. See what I can get it to stall at here. A little bit of power. 37. Alright, wing drop at 37. Okay. A little better. I mean, it's a couple knots slower. But kind of as I suspected, it's not going to stall because I don't have enough tail authority. So you get to that point where you're full aft, you have to add power in order to get more airflow over the tail or to get the nose to pitch up more, then you can get into the stall. That's kind of the way you fly it on landing too, is you're going to bring in a little bit of power as you come in. If you're dead sticking it in, you're going to carry a little bit more speed. Flies really nice at slow speed. It's very stable. Right now I'm cruising around at about 4,400 RPM, 60 miles an hour. But I don't really like to cruise it anymore at real high RPM, so right now I've got it runs real nice at 8,300. 8,200, somewhere in there. So I got 8,300, about 6 gallons an hour. I think this thing reads a couple tenths high, just from when I refuel it. I think it reads a couple tenths high on the fuel burn. That gives me 101 indicated with 108 true airspeed in cruise. With the Shock Monster big draggy gear and the 29-inch bush wheels. So if I can do 108, 109 in cruise, I'm stoked. This is fantastic. So to hang out with the Cub guys, I can pull it all the way back to like 75 and cruise even with the Cub guys. And that's below 5 gallons an hour, about 4.5. Heading in, we're gonna do some landing practice now. Went out and did slow flight for about 0.3, just flying around at like 50 to 45, doing turns. And see from the other cameras, hopefully they're still running. Yeah, it's pretty predictable, flies really nice, slow, very stable wing. I'll see here if I can actually hold it off going down the runway. Do a 3-point, slow as we can get, just get it to drop and see what the touchdown speed is. Flies really nice with 1 notch. That might be the standard. I'm a big 2-notch advocate, but with this wing, we'll see if I'm going to continue with that attitude. Okay, bring in the 2nd notch, we'll go full up trim. I still get a little buffeting with the 2nd notch. Right here at 50. Here, we're going to hold it off. No, didn't hold it off very well. That was 40. We'll try a 2-notch takeoff. Yeah, it just seems really nice with 1 notch. Got full trim, it's pretty neutral, so holding a little bit of back pressure. Coming in about 55 right now. I'll let the nose come up. Bring the power back. And you're not getting very steep with this wing. About 50. Or bring the power back in to slow that rate of descent. Get with the flare here. Again, about 40. Pretty similar. So I can take off before the taxiway there. That's pretty ridiculous. It took off like 80 feet. That's crazy. Yeah, that was 37. 37 landing at a 3-point. Instead of doing the nose up and then like that, I'm going to just keep it on the ground and see when it takes off. Ben traffic, Kitfox is taking off, 3-4 left pattern. Less than 100 feet. I'll try it again, see if I can duplicate that 37, or if I can add a little bit more power and get it even slower. But that's pretty good. I've dragged, I came in, got down to my mid 40s, And as I started to flare, I started adding power. And by doing that, I was able to get the nose up and 3-pointed at about 37 mile per hour touchdown. Alright, so that was about almost 2 hours. I'll throw a slat on the outside slat on, go do another flight, as long as the weather's going to hold up. Alright, so that was a real successful flight. I got all the numbers for the stalls and for the cruise speeds. Stall speeds are a little bit slower. Again, I think we're going to see the big advantage when we go to the slat. Alright guys, so I'll wrap this one up here. We'll get more into the slat development later on, but for the wing, that's what this video has really been about, is this prototype wing. It's actually called the Piggyback STOL wing, and it's from Snake River Bushplanes. They do a kit that takes your standard wing, standard super sport wing, and makes it this big wing. Now this wing is actually bigger than an STI wing. It's got a thicker camber and a longer chord and an overall longer length, so it's a bigger wing, and it doesn't have the undercamber profile, so it keeps the super sport underneath rib profile, and that might be why we're picking up that speed. It really just changes the thickness of the top of the wing, and then it makes it a little bit longer on the chord. I'm really impressed with it. It's balanced really well. I didn't notice really any difference in the roll rate. It probably is different, but it's not noticeable for me to think it's a negative. I'm using more trim and a more elevator. That was to be expected. So I might do the gap seal and the VGs on the elevator. That way I can maybe get a little bit more elevator authority, but I'm able to 3-point land no problem. So, you know, I don't have anything bad to say about this upgrade. I'm really excited about it. You know, faster cruise, slower stall. And I'll run the numbers and I'll voice it over. I may have already done that in the video, but basically saw about a 4 mile per hour increase in cruise speed, which allows me to back off the RPM and burn less fuel to go the same speed as I was going before. And then about a 2 mile per hour reduction in the stall speed. And that's with the VGs way back for where they should be when the slats are on. So if the slats didn't work out and I wanted to put the VGs where they're supposed to be, I'll probably see another couple mile per hour reduction there. So we might be seeing, you know, realistically, you know, down in the mid 30s on the stall speed if I move the VGs forward. We may not need the slats, but I really want to give the slats an opportunity to convince me that they're worthwhile. So we'll play around with how they're mounted, and then we'll get into that in the next video. But thanks for watching, guys. Please leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this whole project. It's been a really long process. So we're 3 years into this development of this wing to get to the point today where we're flying it. So you know, it sat in my garage or my hangar for quite a while, but that's because I really wanted to get the comparison data with the standard wing and get to where I was really comfortable flying with the standard wing, and I was really reluctant to actually tear the plane apart because it was flying so nice. But even after just 3 flights in this, I can tell you I love the improvement, and it really comes down to the attitude that the airplane flies. The reason I think we're picking up speed is because it's more up on the step, more level in flight, because you're producing more lift, so you don't have to carry that angle of attack. And with the standard sport wing, that only got worse as you went higher in elevation or higher in density altitude. You'd have to keep the nose up more and more and more. You get up about 7,000 to 8,000 feet. It feels like you're going to climb all the time. I'm really happy with it. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about it. Or what you think about the process of taking a standard sport or standard wing, super sport wing, and turning it into this monster wing. It is a kit that's going to be available from Snake River Bushplanes. I'll leave a link below. Great guy, Rich Kimball, is the one that developed this kit, and I really think he did his homework and came out with a great wing profile. This thing really flies nice. Now I just got to figure out my part of it was this whole slat deal. We put these brackets on and trying to make these slats work, and so that'll be the next couple videos. We'll get into that and see if I can get these to work. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Trying to get the subscriptions up, guys. I'm really getting close to breaking 18,000, but I'd like to see a lot more. So, hit the subscribe button if you guys like this content, and leave me a comment.